The New York Knicks are not just another basketball team. They are one of the NBA's oldest institutions, a franchise tied tightly to the identity of New York City itself. Officially known as the New York Knickerbockers, the team is based in Manhattan and plays its home games at Madison Square Garden, one of the most famous arenas in world sports. That setting matters, because the Knicks have always carried a bigger spotlight than most franchises. Every win feels amplified, every mistake gets dissected, and every era becomes part of a larger city story. Alongside the Brooklyn Nets, they represent NBA basketball in New York City, but the Knicks hold a unique historical position. They are one of only two original NBA teams, along with the Boston Celtics, that still play in their original city. That continuity gives the franchise a rare sense of permanence. The Knicks began in 1946, when Ned Irish established the team as part of the Basketball Association of America, the league that would later merge with the National Basketball League to form the NBA in 1949. From the beginning, the Knicks were not a small-market experiment or a temporary sports venture. They were built in the largest media market in the United States, positioned at the center of American entertainment, finance, and culture. Their early years also showed promise quickly. Under head coach Joe Lapchick, the Knicks became a regular playoff contender. They were competitive, respected, and capable of reaching the biggest stage. But that early success also introduced a theme that would follow the franchise for decades, being close to greatness without quite finishing the job. Between 1951 and 1953, the Knicks reached 3 consecutive NBA Finals. For any franchise, that is a remarkable achievement. For a team still in the early years of professional basketball, it suggested that New York might become one of the league's first true dynasties. But the Knicks lost all 3 finals appearances. Those defeats mattered because they created an early legacy of frustration. The team had the talent and structure to compete, but not enough to claim the championship. In sports history, near misses often shape fan culture as much as victories do. Knicks fans learned early that hope could be intense, but so could disappointment. The franchise was already important, already visible, and already chasing something that seemed just slightly out of reach. After Joe Lapchick resigned in 1956, the Knicks entered a long decline. From 1956 to 1966, they reached the playoffs only once. That kind of drop-off can change how a franchise is perceived. A team that had once looked like a steady contender became an example of instability and missed opportunity. The NBA itself was evolving, with new stars, new strategies, and stronger organizations beginning to define the league. The Knicks, despite playing in New York, could not simply rely on location or tradition. Basketball demanded structure, coaching, player development, and identity. During this period, the franchise lacked the formula that had made it dangerous in the early 1950s. The stage was still grand, but the product on the court no longer matched it. The turning point came in the late 1960s under head coach Red Halsman. Halsman helped transform the Knicks into a team built on intelligence, ball movement, discipline, and collective trust. Instead of depending only on one superstar or one dominant scoring option, the Knicks became a connected unit. This era produced the franchise's first championship in 1970, a title that remains one of the defining moments in New York sports history. The 1970 championship was not just about winning a trophy. It changed the emotional relationship between the Knicks and their fans. After years of early heartbreak and later decline, the franchise finally delivered. New York had a basketball champion, and Madison Square Garden became the home of a team that could match the city's ambition. The Knicks proved that 1970 was not a one-time miracle by winning another NBA championship in 1973. That second title gave the Halsman era lasting weight. In sports memory, one championship can sometimes be treated as a perfect run, but 2 championships create an era. The Knicks of the early 1970s became the standard against which future teams would be judged. They represented teamwork, toughness, and composure under pressure. For older Knicks fans, this was the golden age. For younger generations, it became almost mythical, because the franchise would spend decades trying to recreate that feeling. The 1973 title also started the clock on one of basketball's longest and most painful championship droughts, although nobody at the time could have known how long the wait would become. The 1980s brought playoff appearances but no return to the NBA Finals. The Knicks were not irrelevant, but they were not truly dominant either. That distinction is important. A franchise can be competitive enough to keep fans engaged while still falling short of serious title contention. For New York, that middle ground was especially frustrating. The city expected excellence, and Madison Square Garden carried the atmosphere of a stage built for championship basketball. The team made 6 playoff appearances during the decade, but the league was crowded with powerful opponents and defining stars. The Knicks were searching for a new identity after the championship era, and while they had moments of promise, they did not yet have the centerpiece needed to bring them back to the top. That centerpiece arrived in Patrick Ewing. In the 1990s, the Knicks became one of the NBA's most recognizable teams because they had a clear identity, physical defense, relentless effort, and a rugged style that reflected the competitive edge of the city. Under coaches Pat Riley and later Jeff Van Gundy, the Knicks were built to make opponents uncomfortable. Ewing, a Hall of Fame center, gave the franchise a legitimate star around whom everything could revolve. These Knicks were not always beautiful to watch, but they were difficult to beat. Their games felt like battles. For many fans, this was the era that defined modern Knicks culture: intense, emotional, defensive, and constantly pushing against the league's best teams. The Ewing-era Knicks came closest in 1994 and 1999, reaching the NBA Finals both times. But once again, the franchise found itself near the summit without lifting the trophy. The 1994 Finals reinforced the sense that the Knicks were good enough to dream, but not quite good enough to finish. The 1999 run was different, memorable because the Knicks reached the Finals as an 8th seed, a rare and dramatic achievement. Yet that run also ended without a championship. These losses deepened the emotional complexity of being a Knicks fan. The team had stars, coaching, toughness, and memorable moments, but the drought continued. By the end of the decade, the Knicks had built a powerful identity, but not the ultimate result. After Patrick Ewing left, the Knicks entered another difficult period marked by playoff absences and instability. This was not just a normal rebuilding phase. For a franchise with the Knicks' history and market size, the struggles felt magnified. Fans watched the team cycle through attempts to regain relevance, often without a clear long-term path. The arrival of Amare Stoudemire and later Carmelo Anthony brought excitement back to Madison Square Garden. Carmelo, a Hall of Fame forward and elite scorer, gave the Knicks star power again. In 2013, the team won a division title, its first in 19 years. But that success did not develop into sustained contention. Instead, the franchise soon suffered some of its worst regular season records, extending the sense of unfinished business. The modern turnaround began with a more balanced roster and a clearer competitive direction. Signing guard Jalen Brunson in 2022 gave the Knicks a steady offensive leader, someone capable of controlling games, creating shots, and setting a professional tone. The later additions of Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns between 2023 and 2024 gave the roster more versatility, defense, scoring, and depth. What made this phase important was not simply the accumulation of names. It was the way the pieces suggested a complete team. Brunson provided leadership and shot creation. Hart brought energy and toughness. Anunoby and Bridges offered defensive flexibility on the wings. Towns added size and offensive skill. The Knicks were no longer only chasing relevance, they were building a contender. In 2026, the Knicks finally won the NBA championship, ending a 53-year drought that stretched back to 1973. That achievement changed the meaning of everything that came before it. The early finals losses, the Halsman glory years, the Ewing heartbreaks, the Carmelo revival, the losing seasons, and the modern rebuild all became chapters in a much longer story of persistence. For the franchise, the title was not just another championship banner. It was the release of decades of expectation in one of the most demanding sports markets in the world. The Knicks' history shows why context matters in basketball. Some teams are measured only by recent performance. The Knicks are measured by generations of memory, by Madison Square Garden, and by the long wait between glory and redemption. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.